guys, and welcome back. You're probably really confused why there's Bonnie footage in the Chica video, and that is because I realized I didn't have enough footage for an entirely new Bonnie video, and I didn't have enough content to have another Bonnie video. So, as a compromise, I'm going to use the footage for Chica, especially because I ended up skipping a lot of Chica's drawing phase when doing her, because fun fact, she was a nightmare to draw. So I did all the lining beforehand, and the only thing left is the coloring phase. Haha. Yeah, turns out I'm really not good at anthropomorphic birds. Not that I'm really good at any type of animal, to be honest. I more focus on human bodies, but I hope my animatronic designs aren't that bad. Let's get into Chica. Despite her not even being on screen. I'll get into her visual design once we actually get to that part of the footage, so let's just get into like personality stuff. Despite Melody being a female animatronic, Chica is, as you could probably suspect, the token girl character in the group. She represents a lot of feminine traits, such as the motherly figure, the bubbly figure, the sweet and kind figure. This version of Chica has a bit of a southern drawl to her, that good old Kentucky-style chicken. I'm sorry, that was a really stupid joke. I know Kentucky is not the South. Is it? Never mind. Please ignore me. I'm ignorant, I am stupid, and I'm an American who only cares about the affairs of the Northeast. Everywhere else is just hurricanes in the South, and then California. Anywho, like most forms of Chica, she has the traditional problem of being a robot that's obsessed with eating food. Meaning, just like every other version of Chica, she has the overwhelming desire to shove garbage into her mouth and then proceed to make the mechanic's job an absolutely terrible fucking nightmare to deal with. You know, the roaches, the bugs, the ancient cheese that needs to be scraped out of the mechanical mouth or beak. Truly an atrocity. Although, spoiler alert, don't feel too bad about the mechanic. That person can go suck an egg. They honestly need something to do, and they deserve to go through this bullshit. But that's a spoiler, like I said. Honestly, you know something I should do when this series is over? I should do a voice claim for everyone so you guys can have a general sense of what they would have sounded like if this were like a TV show or like a dubbed comic, since the actual comic is kind of a little bit behind on the priority spectrum, since I have a million cajillion projects that I really need to work on. And there's even a FNAF series on my channel that I have been horribly neglecting that has not been worked on in months, simply because I am dumb. I will get back to that once I finish this one project, I swear. Anyways, since Bonnie is on screen and we should be focusing on Chica, I will briefly mention that of the relationship between the animatronics, Chica and Bonnie are currently, in fact, best friends, although there is a little bit of jealousy between Bonnie and Chica and Freddy, and that's just because, it's actually a bit complicated. For me to explain the new version, a little bit of context about the old version of the story must be made. Look, we're at the Chica side of the footage. Yeah, the rough pencil sketches I do for these animatronics, they be a rough. This is not a good look. She looks like she's going through her emo phase, but hopefully that'll be fixed once I do the lining a little bit better and the shapes are, cleaned up a little bit. Anyways, where was I? Oh, right, the old version. In the old version of the story, the one I created back in middle school, my younger self decided to add a shipping war between the animatronics. Because, yes, I was one of those kids. But to be fair, at least these versions of the animatronics are sentient robots. They are possessed. They do have ghosts inside of them. But it's not like I'm, shipping, machines that are 100% just ghosts and robot suits. These animatronics are, in fact, super sentient, kind of like the ones in Security Breach. But that doesn't change the fact that it's kind of stupid and weird. To get into the precise details, there was a storyline about Bonnie being in love with Freddy, and then Freddy being in love with Chica, and then Chica being in love with Foxy, and then Foxy being in love with Chica. So basically, that was a main component to Freddy and Foxy fighting, is that they both were in love with the same character, and Chica was actually reciprocating Foxy more. However, in this version, I believe cutting out that detail is actually beneficial, since I think the romance angle isn't really needed for the other animatronics. There is one semi-romantic ship that I am, in fact, keeping, and that's because it's plot relevant and it's character important, but I will get into that later. The current reason why there is some jealousy between Bonnie, Chica, and Freddy is a little bit more straightforward now. It's simply about the popularity score. You see, once a month, Freddy Fazbear does a bit of an online quiz to see which animatronic is the kid's favorite. And in the case of Chica, she is obviously the second most popular, mostly because she is in fact the token girl character. Sorry for that weird flashing of Freddy. That was me trying to make sure that the eyes were relatively proportional to the other animatronics, since the bird beak was throwing me off. Anyways, where are we? Oh, right. What I mean by the token girl character is, like I mentioned before, there is Melody, who is female, but everyone hates her because they think she's creepy. So most little girls who are girly girls who like, girl characters like Barbie and all that fun stuff, they sort of lean towards Chica as being their favorite. So she gets a good chunk of the popularity there. And because of that, Bonnie gets jealous, because Bonnie, as you can probably imagine, isn't as popular as you'd think. Sure, he plays a guitar and he's cool, but a lot of these slightly older kids find him annoying, and people prefer Foxy because he's more feisty. Don't get me wrong, there are some months where Bonnie wins out and gets second place, but for the most part, Chica wins more often, so he's a bit jealous of that. There you go. I actually like the head shape by the end. It actually cleaned up really nice. And moving on to the body, the beginnings of the nightmare. And at this point, you are probably realizing that the footage is really, really, really fast in this part of the video, and that is because this sketching phase took forever. As you can see, this base model I made for Chica is going to be mutilated over and over again, and eventually I would have to quit and then take a break from it and then do some sketching outside of the digital app, just so I can figure out how the hell birds work. Bird wings. But you'll see the end result of that in the next video. Also probably wondering at this point, hey Violet, why are you giving Chica bird wings when even within the series, Chica has hands and arms like any other normal animatronic? And that is because childhood me, middle school me, and even current me really like the idea of a Chica that is literally just a bird. Like, yes, it has wings, but it can still pick up objects and use them like hands. Like, so it's wings and their hands at the same time, kind of like a velociraptor if you really think about it. Because apparently the idea is so good, I have to torture myself to complete the complexities of this idea that I had. And I can't give up on this idea because it's so cool and I think it's so neat and I want to do it so bad. Look at this. Look at these homunculus arms. And honestly, I think that's why Chica in this series is so terrifying, and why I want her to be like this, is that her anatomy is so jank, because she's literally a humanoid bird creature wandering around the pizzeria, somehow still competent enough with her bird wing hands that she can actually, like, make pizza. I think that's awesome. Just something with this long arms that's hiding them under fluffy feathers is a sick concept. And you're also seeing at the beginnings of this stage me sketching out the outfit. I had a very clear vision in my head as a child, and I did actually design the outfit for this character. But what ended up happening is that kid me ended up losing all the beautiful little character sheets I made for these characters, so I'm going off of memory.